Brian Satterfield's Hamilton Southeastern Royals had a good start to the season as they go 3-0 on their first opening week of the boys basketball season. They started it off with an excellent game against rival Fishers in the season opener last Tuesday and followed it up with two very, very tough wins on the road. A squeaker at the Bowman Academy and then finally finishing out with a victory at Lake Central. Tonight, Hamilton Southeastern, they return home as they take on the Mount Vernon Marauders tonight on Audio Sports Online. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. My name's Brian Scott. Hamilton Southeastern now ranked number 6 in Class 4A, and they will be taking on the 7th ranked in Class 3A Mount Vernon Marauders tonight. Hamilton Southeastern coming off of a win last Saturday. That was a game we did not have for you on ASO. After a tough game the night before, a late night for Brian Satterfield's club as they defeated the Bowman Academy 72-70. Then they would have to get up early the next morning, head to Lake Central to play a Saturday afternoon matinee. And for Coach Satterfield, one of his best well-rounded efforts so far of this very young season, as 5 Royals scored in double figures, led by Zach Irvin's 20 points in that contest. And the Royals defeated the Lake Central by the score of 73-63. Zach Irvin led all Royals with 20 points, 12 points each for Tyler Jenkins and Ross Risley, 11 points from Paul Furlan and 10 points from Eric Davidson. All 5 starters scored in double figures that night. And as Coach Satterfield said during the coach's podcast, very impressed with Tyler Jenkins, the ball movement and the handling of the basketball game last Saturday against Lake Central. He was hoping it would carry through today. The first 2 games was pretty much the Zach Irvin show. Zach scored 31 points in the season opener versus Fishers, 30 points against the Bowman Academy before wrapping things up with a 20-point win at Lake Central. Zach currently averaging about 27 points per game and almost averaging a double-double, just under 10 rebounds per game for senior forward Zach Irvin. So the Royals will now play tonight. They will play Lake Central. They played this team last year, and it really wasn't much of a contest as the Royals defeated the Marauders by the score of 67-39. Mount Vernon, they are 1-0 on the season. Their head coach is Steve Lynch. They are currently, as I said, ranked number 7 in Class 3A, and they're coming off of a victory, their season opener, that would have been last week on right before the Thanksgiving holiday. They defeated Whiteland 57-44. Coach Satterfield expected this Marauders team to be a little bit different than last year. Gone are a couple of the seniors that they faced, of course, to graduation, but they also have a couple of players that he was looking out for, and one of them would be guard C.J. Coleman. That was one of the players that Coach Satterfield said they would definitely have to look out for in tonight's contest. Not quite the crowd we had when Fishers was here just a little over a week and a half ago. Of course, that was for the Mudsock, and for those of you that didn't catch the girls' game the following night, Hamilton Southeastern swept the Mudsock as the boys beat the boys won Tuesday night, the girls won Wednesday night. So Hamilton Southeastern in sole possession of the Mudsock for this basketball season. Before we give you our starting lineups, we are going to have tonight's national anthem. A very, very fine rendition of our national anthem performed here tonight before tonight's varsity matchup between the Hamilton Southeastern Royals and the Mount Vernon Marauders here on Audio Sports Online. Tonight's action tips off a busy couple of days here for Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. We'll have a full day of Royals basketball for you tomorrow on ASO. The girls will tip off action tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the junior varsity game as they will welcome the Harrison Raiders here to Hamilton Southeastern. That'll be followed up at 2:30 with the varsity game, and you can watch that game right here on Audio Sports Online. And then we'll pack up our gear, head to Pendleton Heights, and Brian Satterfield's club will be at Pendleton Heights tomorrow night. JV game at 6 o'clock and the varsity game at 7:30. All of that you can find right here on Audio Sports Online. The boys' game will be audio only, but the girls' game will have video for you. I want to remind you, if you've missed any of the action of Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online all season long, just go to audiosportsonline.com, click on the Hamilton Southeastern link, and any of the games that we've already broadcast, you will find an on-demand podcast, totally free of charge, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Also want to remind fans that this year you can go to YouTube for all of our video cast games and click on our YouTube channel at Audio Sports Online, and we will have those games on YouTube as well as our own site. From YouTube, you can also share it with your friends on Facebook, via Twitter, via email. That's all courtesy of Audio Sports Online. The teams have made their way out onto the court as we get ready for basketball here at Hamilton Southeastern. For the Mount Vernon Marauders, the head coach is Steve Lynch. He's 80-50 in his 7th year at the helm of the Marauders. And, of course, for the Royals, Brian Satterfield, 179-74 in his 12th year at the helm of the Royals. Coming into tonight's contest, we mentioned Hamilton Southeastern rated number 6 in Class 4A in the state of Indiana. If you take a look at the Sagarin rankings, they are actually ranked number 2 as second overall and second in Class 4A. Mount Vernon comes in ranked number 7 in Class 3A. Sagarin has them ranked number 8. Mount Vernon is coming off of a defeated Whiteland last week, 57-44, while Hamilton Southeastern defeated Lake Central last Saturday by the score of 73-63. Over the last 15 years, rather one-sided, Hamilton Southeastern is 11-4 during those contests, and of course the Royals won last year by the score of 67-39. Mount Vernon comes in averaging, with just that single game under their belt, 57 points a game, giving up 44 points a game, while Hamilton Southeastern, they are averaging 76 points a game while giving up almost 65 points per game. Let's go ahead and give you our starting lineups as they are about ready to be introduced here. For the visiting Mount Vernon Marauders, head coach Steve Lynch's lineup looks like this. Starting at a guard is a 6'3 junior, C.J. Coleman. At the other guard is a 6-foot senior, Anthony Burnett. Forward is a 6'3 sophomore, Dan Werner. The other forward is a 6'6 sophomore, Zach Spears. And at center, a 6'6 senior, Stephen Turner. So once again for the Marauders, in the backcourt, it'll be Coleman and Burnett. And in the front court, it'll be Spears, Turner, and Werner. Those are the starting 5 for the Mount Vernon Marauders. For the Hamilton Southeastern Royals, their starting lineup looks like it has the past 3 contests. Starting at a guard is a 6'1 senior, Paul Furlan. At the other guard is a 6'1 junior, Eric Davidson. The third guard is a 6'2 junior, Tyler Jenkins. At forward is a 6'8 senior, Zach Irvin. And the other forward is a 6'4 senior, Ross Risley. So in the backcourt for the Royals, it'll be Furlan, Irvin, and Davidson. And the front court, Furlan, Jenkins, and Davidson. And the front court will have Irvin and Risley. Those are your starting 5 tonight in this contest for Hamilton Southeastern. The Marauders now being introduced on the court wearing the black. Royals are wearing the white. as we are getting ready for basketball here on Audio Sports Online. Hamilton Southeastern, as I mentioned, averaging almost 76 points per game through their first 3 games. They're shooting 52% from the field. It's been the three-point shot, their perimeter shooting, that has been the keystone so far in these first 3 games. And Southeastern shooting a very good, almost 44% from the field. They would like to hit their free throws. Of course, Coach Satterfield was saying in that Bowman game that he thought if they could have hit their free throws, he thought they might have been able to put that game away. As it was, they had to withstand a late rally and use some good defense. Southeastern on the season averaging just a little over 69% from the free throw line. They're averaging almost over 31 points per game on the boards, averaging 18 assists per game, and that's been one of the strengths that Coach Satterfield has really pushed this season. Is they thought he had done a very good job of moving the ball around. They have been averaging only 11 turnovers per game and almost 7 steals per game. Zach Irvin leads all scorers with 27 points per game, a little under 10 rebounds through the first 3 games. Not to mention, through the first 3 games, he's averaging over 3 assists per game. So a good job by Zach Irvin. Eric Davidson second in the team in scoring with a little over 10 points per game. And it was the game against Lake Central in which Coach Satterfield said they had their biggest, their most well-rounded game from all 5 starters, with all 5 starters scoring in double figures. Once again, your lineups for the Marauders is Coleman, Burnett, Spears, Turner, and Werner. And for the Royals, Furlan, Irvin, Jenkins, Davidson, and Risley. As we get ready for basketball here from Hamilton Southeastern, we hope you enjoy tonight's game on Audio Sports Online. Stephen Turner will jump center. He's going to go against Zach Irvin. Irvin at 6'8", usually has maybe an inch or 2 on most players. And he will be jumping center. So we're ready for basketball here at Hamilton Southeastern. The ball is in the air, and the Royals have the basketball to begin this contest. Zach Irvin has the basketball as the Royals look over a 2-3 zone to begin this game. Gets a screen, jumper from the free throw line. It's no good, and the loose ball is controlled by Risley, but it's finally poked out of his hand by Zach Spears, and the Marauders go the other way. And quickly, they will get the bucket, as putting it up is Stephen Turner. He has the first 2 points in this contest. Royals miss their first shot, and the Marauders take the early 2-0 advantage. Here's Eric Davidson for 3. That's too strong. Irvin with a rebound, kicks it to Furlan, back to Davidson, back over to Furlan. Furlan around their outside perimeter, leaves it to Jenkins. Jenkins to Risley. Risley to the cup, rims out. And the rebound's controlled by Stephen Turner of Mount Vernon. 2-0, Marauders with the basketball and the lead, as the Royals come up empty on their first 2 possessions. Tied up on the right elbow is Dan Werner. He'll kick it out. 3 ball is no good by Stephen Turner. And Tyler Jenkins brings it the other way for Southeastern. He's tied up through the double team, but manages to get it to Paul Furlan. Furlan back to Jenkins, and the Marauders will set up the 2-3 once again. 2-0 Mount Vernon, 6:27 left to go first quarter. Furlan feeds Irvin baseline, back to Furlan. Jenkins is the good ball movement by Hamilton Southeastern. This is Davidson to Jenkins. Jenkins left to Furlan. Furlan thought about the 3. Instead, will give it to Tyler Jenkins. Jenkins to Risley, back to Davidson for 3. That's too strong off the flange, and clearing the rebound is C.J. Coleman from Mount Vernon. Royals stayed patient, but they couldn't get it. Now on the floor and finally poking it away is Southeastern. Paul Furlan will take the outlet pass from Zach Irvin, and the Royals are on the board to tie the game at 2. Dan Werner it was Stephen Turner that got tied up underneath, and now a steal by Tyler Jenkins. Jenkins will take it himself, and as he tried to flush it down, the ball's going to be partially blocked by C.J. Coleman, but Coleman's going to get a part of the arm by Tyler Jenkins, and Jenkins will head to the line. First team foul against the Marauders, and Jenkins will head to the line, a 67% free throw shooter on the season. His first of two falls out. Tyler will have one more. We're tied at 2, 5:35 left to go first quarter. The second one, that also comes out, and Zach Spears clears the rebound for Mount Vernon. Tied at 2, 5:29 left to go first quarter. And this one's poked away by Eric Davidson. Davidson tries to leave it off for Tyler Jenkins, but it's tipped. And they'll say it was tipped off of the hands of the Marauders' Anthony Burnett, and we'll keep it down here at the Royals' end of the court. 2-2, that's our score. 5:21 left to go first quarter as the inbound is triggered to Jenkins, and Jenkins gives it to Davidson as once again the Marauders in the 2-3. Paul Furlan thought about the three, closed in quickly by Stephen Turner. Furlan to Jenkins. Jenkins drives baseline, wraps it around to Risley, but Risley can't hold it. It'll be tied up on the court as Stephen Turner ties up Ross Risley. The held ball will have the possession arrow favoring the Mount Vernon Marauders. Tied at 2, 5:03 left to go first quarter. And the Marauders will bring it up the court. Into the front court comes Coleman. He gets the ball back, and it's blocked from behind by Ross Risley. Good defense by Ross as Coleman got the ball back from Turner. But Risley was there to block it and goes out of bounds back to Mount Vernon. Burnett goes right side down into the corner. They put it into the post. A turnaround right-hand hook is no good by Spears, and the Royals come away with a rebound. Irvin to Davidson, Davidson to Furlan, and Furlan tried to give it back to Aaron. It goes off the leg of Stephen Turner. .439 left to go in this first quarter. 2-2, that's our score. Irvin to Furlan, over to the right side to Jenkins. Jenkins finds Zach all alone underneath the basket, and Zach finishes it. Royals out in front 4-2 for the first time in this contest. Driving, putting it up with a right hand, and a nice drive by Dan Werner to put Mount Vernon even up with the Royals at 4. Ball almost gets away from Paul Furlan, but he retrieves the loose ball. Tyler Jenkins with the basketball, right side, gives it to Eric Davidson. Now to Zach Irvin. Skip pass over to Jenkins, and they move the ball around once again. Furlan to Jenkins. Jenkins makes a move, poked away by Anthony Burnett into the hands of Mount Vernon. Tied at 4, and driving in the lane but being stripped is Dan Werner, and the Royals come the other way. And Zach Irvin trying to find Eric Davidson, has it go off of a Marauder, and we'll keep it down at the Royals' end. Substitutions now is coming in for Hamilton Southeastern. Chris Ford and Justin Barksdale. Paul Furlan and Ross Risley will take a seat. Coming in now for the Marauders, Christian Smith will come in. He's going to replace Anthony Burnett, but not before we have a timeout on the court. 3:33 left to go in this opening quarter of play. We're tied at 4. You're watching Hamilton Southeastern basketball on Audio Sports Online. Brian Scott back with you from Hamilton Southeastern. We are tied at 4 with the Royals and the Mount Vernon Marauders. Marauders jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Southeastern was eventually able to take a 4-2 lead, but now we are all evened up at 4 apiece with Southeastern in possession of the basketball. As again, Chris Ford, Justin Barksdale now in for Brian Satterfield's club. Irvin to Jenkins as the Royals getting a look at that 2-3 zone. Barksdale makes a move, kicks it out. Irvin for 3, nails it. Zach Irvin on a nice bit of inside-outside from Barksdale back to Irvin. And the Royals are up 7-4. Now almost stolen as they tried to make the pass to the near side to Christian Smith. Eric Davidson got a hand on it. And Keegan Culp will come in. He will replace Davidson. Mount Vernon will have the basketball with Christian Smith keying the inbounds from the near sideline. Still looking. Now he'll throw it into the backcourt to Stephen Turner. Turner quickly gets into the front court, and a blocking foul is going to be called against the Royals, Zach Irvin. First Royal foul, and it goes against Zach. 3:08 left to go first quarter. Royals up 7-4. Smith will throw it into the backcourt into the hands of C.J. Coleman. And Mount Vernon looks to move the basketball around. Spears with it. Gives it to Coleman. Coleman from the right elbow. Puts the shot up. Count the bucket. And put him on the line. Justin Barksdale will be credited with his first personal foul. And heading to the line is C.J. Coleman, who had his first points. And he can tie this up with a free throw if he can convert the three-point play. And he does. We're tied at 7. More substitutions now for the Marauders. As Anthony Burnett returns to the lineup. And Zach Spears. Tied at 7. Royals have the basketball. As now it's almost a box and one. Ball's picked off by Spears. And the Marauders now have the basketball. Coleman gives it up down here in the near side to Christian Smith. Smith guarded closely by Culp. Gives it up to Coleman. Coleman drives in the lane, lays it up, puts it off the glass. Shot is short, and Irvin clears the rebound for Southeastern. He will give it to Ford. Ford back to Furlan for three. No good, and the rebound's controlled by Turner. Royals looking for a foul. No whistle called. Here comes driving through the lane Anthony Burnett. And a whistle and a foul is going to be called against Southeastern. Looks like that foul is going to go against Justin Barksdale, and that'll be his second. Third team foul against Southeastern. And to the line will be Anthony Burnett. Burnett's first free throw rattles around and drops. Marauders go back out in front 8-7. Burnett with one more free throw due. Second free throw short, and Culp has the rebound for Southeastern. He will give it to Zach. Zach left side to Furlan. Almost a box in one type of them trying to keep Barksdale close at the free throw line. Here is Irvin. Skip pass over to Culp, back to Furlan. Over to Culp. Keegan all alone for three. Rims in and out, crashing the boards, but losing it was Chris Ford. And Mount Vernon has the basketball and a 1-point lead. With the basketball, Stephen Turner. He will give it up to Burnett. Burnett to Coleman. Royals been man-to-man the entire game so far. Minute 23 left to go first quarter. 8-7 Mount Vernon. Turner to Smith. Smith in the lane. To Spears, back out. And for three is Stephen Turner. He now has 5 points, and it's a 4-point lead for Mount Vernon as we approach the 1 minute mark left to go in this first quarter. Zach with the basketball. Feeds Barksdale to Furlan. Furlan backs it out. 50 seconds remain in this first quarter. Irvin to Culp, back to Zach. Left alone, wide open for three, but a little strong as Smith gets the rebound as Christian Smith left Zach Irvin wide open. That's not something Coach Steve Lynch wants to see, to leave the Royals' best shooter wide open out in the perimeter. Here's Coleman off a curl. He hits the three. 6 points for C.J. Coleman. A 7-point Mount Vernon lead Under 20 seconds remain in this first quarter. And Zach Irvin will slowly bring it into the front court. Irvin with a basketball, 3 seconds. Shot is up. It's off the rim, no good, and that's how the first quarter ends. Hamilton Southeastern finds himself on the south end of the scoreboard as they trail Mount Vernon by the score of 14-7. Back with the second quarter right after this. This is Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. Welcome back to Hamilton Southeastern High School. Brian Sky with you as we get set for second quarter action. Hamilton Southeastern trails Mount Vernon by the score of 14-7. C.J. Coleman for the Marauders currently leads all scorers with 6 points, 5 points for Stephen Turner. A bucket for Dan Werner, and Anthony Burnett has a free throw for Hamilton Southeastern. Zach Irvin with 5 points and 2 points from Paul Furlan. Right now, the Marauders zone giving Southeastern a little bit of a problem as we get ready for the second quarter. To start second quarter for Southeastern, they will have Tyler Janney, Tyler Jenkins, Eric Davidson, Nick Wethington, and Ross Risley. They will go big. We begin the second quarter with Southeastern trailing by 7. Davidson around a Wethington screen gives it to Janney to Jenkins. Jenkins with the basketball, right side to Janney. Janney almost loses it, but good dribbling, and now he dribbles through the double team, leaves it for Risley, back to Jenkins. Jenkins couldn't quite corral the pass and couldn't put up the three. Here's Jenkins, and he is stripped. Stolen by Alec Lohman. Lohman leaves it off, and we're going to have a technical foul called because Stephen Turner went to flush it down and then just hung on the rim. And that's going to be a technical foul called against Stephen Turner. It will also be his first personal. It's the second team foul, and we'll send Eric Davidson to the other end to shoot the technicals. Turner thought he was going to be able to flush it down, just couldn't do it, and then got caught up on the rim as Eric hits the first of 2 technical free throws. And now Turner's going to sit down as well as Lucas Rice. Second free throw from Eric is up. It is good. That cuts into the deficit that makes it 5 points at 14-9. And the Royals will have the basketball. 7:30 left in this first half, a 14-9 Mount Vernon advantage. And the Royals with the basketball. Tyler Janney, right side, that's Jenkins. Now we'll see more of a 2-3 look out of Mount Vernon. Janney to Risley. Risley tries to drop it to Davidson. Davidson in amongst the trees, backs it out. Gives it to Nick Wethington. Wethington, right hand jumper, no good. Risley with a rebound, and he's going to be hit. And he's going to head to the line as he's going to be hit on the head by, I believe, Zach Spears. So Spears gets his first, third team foul against the Marauders, and Ross Risley heads to the free throw line where he is an 80% free throw shooter this season, and he hits the first of 2. Hits first, and one more on the way. And he cans them both. One of the things we said in the pregame is Coach Satterfield would like to see his team shoot a little bit better from the line, and so far they're 4 of 4 in this second quarter to make it a 3-point Marauder lead. Here is Mount Vernon. We'll have a whistle as Alec Lohman gets the basketball. Play will be stopped as a foul will be called against the Royals. goes against Ross Risley. That's his first, team foul number 4 against Southeastern, as Spears will leave. And C.J. Coleman returns for Mount Vernon. This is Coleman with a basketball. Double team comes, looks underneath. They kick it back outside, and just inside the three-point arc is Anthony Burnett. Burnett now with 3 points, and the lead's back to 5 for the Marauders with 6:38 left to go first half. Jenkins finds Davidson on a curl, but defense is there. Janney with the basketball. Tyler back to Davidson. Davidson thought about the three. Defense comes out. Wethington goes in. Back to Davidson, and Davidson nails the three. Eric Davidson hits his first bucket. It's a three-pointer, and it's now a 2-point lead for Mount Vernon, as they will feed it down low to C.J. Coleman, and Coleman will put it up and in. And that is going to be to a timeout called by Steve Lynch of Mount Vernon. 6:04 left to go in the first half. It's Hamilton Southeastern trailing Mount Vernon by the score of 18-14. We'll be back in just a second. This is Royals basketball on ASO. A 30-second timeout called by Marauders head coach Steve Lynch, as he watches C.J. Coleman get loose underneath and get the easy bucket. And his Marauders lead the Royals 18-14. Out of the timeout, Zach Irvin will return for Hamilton Southeastern, joining Ross Risley, Eric Davidson, Tyler Janney, and Tyler Jenkins. Those are the 5 on the court for your Royals. Right side, that's Davidson to Janney, back to Jenkins. Jenkins for a three. He nails it. Tyler Jenkins' first basket is a three, and they've cut the deficit to 1 at 18-17. With the basketball, and it's poked away. Jenkins gives it to Janney. Janney to Irvin. Irvin is going to be blocked from behind by Alec Lohman, but Lohman got more of Zach's arm than the ball, and that's going to send Zach to the charity stripe. Actually, they're going to give the foul to Dan Werner. And Zach, a 67% free throw shooter, at the line. He has 5 points. This is his first action here in the second quarter. As a brief delay was one of the officials checking out underneath. And now Zach ready for some free throws. First free throw is up. It's good. And that ties the game at 18. Alec Lohman will leave as Zach Spears returns for Mount Vernon. Meanwhile, Zach can give the Royals a lead with a free throw here. We're tied at 18. And that one rims out. Werner has the rebound for Mount Vernon. We're tied at 18 with 5:32. They try to feed it down low, but Spears can't finish the play. Royals come back the other way. 3-ball by Davidson. No good. Rebound cleared by Stephen Turner, and now a whistle and a foul is going to be called against Southeastern. The foul will go against Risley. That's his second, and he's going to take a seat as Justin Barksdale returns for the Royals. We're tied at 18, 5:22 left to go in this first half. Royals trailed by 7 at the end of the first quarter. And now we are all evened up at 18. Coleman will get it into the front court, guarded by Jenkins. Gets a screen, but Barksdale comes on the double team. They'll feed it to Spears down low. Spears in the lane, kicks it out, and 3-second call. Really, the only thing that Zach Spears could do was put the shot up, because as soon as he passed it off, you knew that 3 seconds call was coming. So the Royals have the basketball, looking to take the lead here with 5:03 left to go in this first half. And now they will both go into the 1-3-1. Here is Furlan for 3. Furlan's three gives the Royals a 3-point lead with 4:47 left to go first quarter. This is Coleman. Gives the ball up to Burnett. Down to Coleman. It's the second time we've seen that play as Burnett gets the pass from Coleman. Coleman rolls to the basket, and he gets the return pass. And now a steal as Jenkins loses it. Ball is still loose down on the floor. And clearing is Stephen Turner as the Marauders have the basketball, trailing by a point. Coleman drives, puts the shot up. It's short, but a whistle as the foul will go against the Royals. And it's going to go against Zach Irvin. That's his second. It is a 16 foul against Southeastern. And Coleman will be heading to the free throw line. He has made his only free throw that he has attempted so far tonight. He has 10 points so far. Free throw is up. It rims out. Chris Ford back in for Brian Satterfield's Royals. He'll replace Eric Davidson, who hit a big three. Coleman with one more free throw, looking to tie the game at 21. And he does just that. Christian Smith comes in. He will take over for C.J. Coleman. As we are tied at 21, as we are getting close to the midway point here in the second quarter. Furlan right side to Jenkins. Back to Furlan. Again, a 1-3-1 zone. Back to Paul Furlan. Three ball on the way. That rims out. Skying high for it was Ford, but getting the basketball was Spears. The Marauders come down to the front court as Burnett looks to give the ball to Smith. Almost threw it away. Now gets the return pass. Right side into the hands of Werner. Werner drives in the lane, leaves the layup short. Zach clears it for Southeastern. Irvin, left side to Ford to Furlan. And Furlan will give it to Tyler Jenkins, and the Royals will shoot up their offense. Here is Irvin, quick catch and shoot. Halfway down, came back out. We remain tied at 21, 3:24 as Zach Spears comes the other way. Misses the layup. Zach Irvin has the rebound. Leaves it for Jenkins. Jenkins for three. That is short. Ford with a rebound gives it to Furlan. Furlan right side to Irvin. Irvin all alone underneath is Justin Barksdale. Good find for Zach Irvin as he had the wide open three, but he found Barksdale all alone underneath the basket for the easy two. And head coach Steve Lynch of Mount Vernon is going to call a timeout with 2:59 remaining in this first half. The Royals lead the Marauders 23-21. You're watching Hamilton Southeastern basketball on Audio Sports Online. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for a full day of Royals basketball. The girls will be in action during the day. The JV game will begin at 1 o'clock, varsity at 2:30 as the Lady Royals rank number 1 in the state of Indiana. Welcome the Harrison Raiders to Hamilton Southeastern. And then the boys will be in action tomorrow night as they travel to Pendleton Heights. The JV game begins at 6 o'clock, varsity game at 7:30. All of that right here on Audio Sports Online. Royals have used some good perimeter shooting as they've hit 3 3-point baskets, and they're hitting their free throws here in this second quarter. As they were down by 7 at the end of the first quarter, they now have a 2-point lead with 2:59 to go in quarter number 2. My name's Brian Scott. Glad you could join us for Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. Out of the timeout, Nick Wethington now on the court for the Royals. He will join Chris Ford, Justin Barksdale, Tyler Jenkins, and Paul Furlan. For the Marauders, C.J. Coleman, who dribbles up the basketball, Dan Werner, Anthony Burnett, Stephen Turner, and Zach Spears are starting 5. Nice drive, kick it out, and hitting the bucket from about 14 foot out is Stephen Turner. He now has 7 points, and we're tied at 23. Furlan thought about the three, instead backs it out. Jenkins They feed it down low into the hands of Wethington. Wethington puts it on the floor, and he traveled. Nick wanted to take that one dribble so he could square up to the basket, but he was surrounded by Marauders, and all that eventually did was make him drag his foot, and he'll be called for steps. Tied at 23, 2:21 remaining in this first half, as the ball is poked out of bounds by Paul Furl, and it will remain in the Mount Vernon front court. Marauders looking to go back out in front. We've had a back-and-forth game so far. Marauders' biggest lead was 7. Royals' biggest lead was 4. Coleman, left side to Burnett. This is Turner with a basketball to Werner. Werner down to Coleman. They kick it out, but don't take the 3. Thinking about it is Burnett, but Marauders will forego. They feed it down low into the post, and with a right-hander, it's no good by Stephen Turner. And we're going to have double fouls called. I believe we're going to have fouls called against Wethington and Turner. Now, Turner's already picked up a technical foul for hanging on the rim. But I believe we are simply going to have double fouls issued in this case. As the official now goes over to the official score to explain. They will credit. They will call double fouls against Nick Wethington of the Royals and Stephen Turner of the Marauders. And now Coach Steve Lynch wants to know why. And now Coach Lynch and Coach Satterfield will be brought to center court right in front of the scorer's table as the officials explain this. As things, the officials saying, might be getting a little bit chippy. No free throws will be shot, but it is the 7th team foul against Southeastern, 5th against Mount Vernon. And Mount Vernon will retain possession. Coleman looking to get it inbounds, and he does as he gets it to Smith. Smith, left side, gives it right back to Coleman. 1:50 left to go first half, and now we're going to have a palming violation as C.J. Coleman working on Tyler Jenkins brought his hand underneath the basketball. He's called for palming. Zach Irvin will return for the Royals. He has 2 fouls, as does Eric Davidson, as Wethington and Ford will depart. 1:49 left to go first half. We are tied at 23. And the Royals will bring it into the front court. Left side to Irvin, back to the 2-3 zone. When Zach's out there, we see a lot more 2-3. Otherwise, they'll go to more 1-3-1. Here's Furlan up top as the Royals move it around. Davidson to Jenkins, all alone for 3. Top of the key is short. Davidson with a rebound and the put back up and in from just in front of the free throw line. Eric now with 5 points, and the Royals are back up in top by 2. Werner with a basketball, and he feeds going to the cup, Zach Spears. Mount Vernon doing an excellent job of finding the guys cutting to the basket through the lane and converting the points. 54 seconds in this first half remain. We're tied at 25. Furlan alone for 3. That one's short off the rim. Cleared by Smith of Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon gets it down low. Here's Spears, his right-hander, no good. And the Royals have the basketball with 36 seconds left. Irvin makes a move in the lane. Right-hand layup is good. And Brian Satterfield will call the timeout. 8 points for Zach Irvin. The Royals now in front by 2, 27-25. With 31.9 seconds remaining in this first half of play. Stay tuned at halftime. We'll have our halftime stats. We'll also tell you what's been happening so far very early in this season in the Hoosier Crossroads Conference. That's all coming up here at halftime on Audio Sports Online. 31.9 seconds remain in the first half. And a 27-25 lead for Southeastern. Out of the timeout, the Royals will have Tyler Jenkins, Paul Furlan. Wade Traeger making an appearance. Eric Davidson. and also Keegan Culp. With the basketball is Anthony Burnett as he swings it around to Smith. Christian Smith up top to Coleman, and trying to go for the steal was Tyler Jenkins. And Tyler's going to be called for his first foul, but it's going to send Coleman to the line for the 1-and-1. It's the 18th foul against the Royals. Stephen Turner leaves, and Zach Spears returns for the Marauders. Coleman at the line for the 1-and-1. He is 2 of 3 from the line. Culp will leave. Irvin will return. Zach with 2 personal fouls. Coach Satterfield trying to keep him from picking up his third. And Coleman at the line for the 1-and-1. 17.8 seconds remain. Royals up by 2. First free throw is no good. Zach clears the rebound. To Jenkins, to Davidson. Davidson is going to be pushed and fouled, but the Marauders had a foul to give, as this is only their 16th foul. 13.3 seconds remain as the foul will go against Christian Smith. That's his first. And Irvin will inbound right in front of the Marauders bench. They'll send Ferland to the backcourt, which is where they'll send the basketball. And Paul brings it to Zach, back over to Ferland. 7 seconds remain. 5. Davidson gets him in the air to Irvin for 3. In and out. And that's the end of the first half. Good look by Irvin. Good pass by Davidson. But it goes halfway down, comes back out. And the teams will head to the locker rooms at the break, with Hamilton Southeastern leading Mount Vernon by the score 27-25. Check back with us in about 5-6 minutes. We'll have halftime stats and tell you what's been happening in the Hoosier Crossroads Conference. This is Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. Halftime back here at Hamilton Southeastern High School, where the Royals lead the Mount Vernon Marauders by the score of 27-25. Mount Vernon got off to a good early start, and at the end of one quarter, they actually had a 7-point lead against Hamilton Southeastern, but the Royals come charging back in the second quarter thanks to some good perimeter shooting and making 5 of 6 from the charity stripe to take a 27-25 lead at the half. Let's have our halftime statistics. Leading all scores with 11 points is Mount Vernon C.J. Coleman. 7 points for the Marauder Stephen Turner. 3 points for Anthony Burnett. 2 points for Zach Spears. 2 points for Dan Warner. Lucas Rice, Alec Lohman, and Christian Smith have played. They have not scored. Leading the Royals with 8 points is Zach Irvin. 5 points for Paul Furlan. 4 for Justin Barksdale. 3 points for Tyler Jenkins. 5 points for Eric Davidson. 2 points for Ross Risley. And Wade Traeger, Chris Ford, Keegan Culp, and Nick Wethington have all played. They have not scored. Mount Vernon led 14-7 after the first quarter, and the Royals lead 25-27, or 27-25, here at halftime. Let's take a look around the Hoosier Crossroads Conference as we are now 1 week into play on the boys' side. Of course, the Royals up at the top of the HCC with a 3-0 overall record. They are 1-0 in the conference since their opening, their season opener was against the Fishers Tigers. Harrison is 2-0 as there is there are 5 teams currently in the HCC with an unblemished record. Harrison is 2-0, Noblesville 2-0, Avon 1-0. The Zionsville Eagles are also 1-0. Brownsburg is 1-1, McCutcheon 1-1. Lafayette Jefferson is 1-2, Westfield is 0-1, and Fishers is 1-1. And again, the only 2 teams that had played conference games so far was Hamilton Southeasterns and Fishers, and of course the Royals won that contest. Take a look over this past week. We saw last Saturday, Avon knocked off Plainfield 65-25. Brownsburg set over Southport 62-27. Fishers defeated Terre Haute North 72-63. It was Harrison 51, North Montgomery 31. Kokomo defeated Westfield 71-51, and Noblesville defeated Carroll 59-58. Games of this week: on Tuesday, McCutcheon knocked off Twin Lakes 70-39, while Harrison defeated Lafayette Jeff by the score of 55-50. That was in a tournament. Thursday, just yesterday, Lafayette Jeff fell to Twin Lakes 60-51. In the HCC tonight, Avon is at Danville. Brownsburg is at Fishers. Carmel is at Noblesville. It is Zionsville at Westfield. And at the Lafayette Classic, that includes Harrison, Lafayette Jefferson, and McCutcheon. And games of tomorrow, Fishers will be at Kokomo. Pike is at Avon. Western Boone is at Zionsville. And it'll be the wrap-up of the Lafayette Classic. We're about ready to get second half action underway here at Hamilton Southeastern, with the Royals out in front 27-25. To begin the second half for Hamilton Southeastern, it'll be the same as they started the game. Paul Furlan, Eric Davidson, Tyler Jenkins, Zach Irvin, and Ross Risley. And for the Marauders, same starting 5, C.J. Coleman, Anthony Burnett, Zach Spears, Stephen Turner, and Dan Werner, as the Royals will have the basketball to begin the second half up by a bucket. Marauders have been in a zone all game. It's a nice find. They get Zach Irvin, but his little right-hander is no good, and here come the Marauders the other way. This is Coleman leading all scores with 11 points. He's cut off by Jenkins. He'll give it up top to Werner. Werner with the basketball, had a right arm, and that was caught by the official on the far side. Near side official didn't see it, but the far side official saw him clear with a forearm, and Dan Werner's going to pick up his second foul. First personal against the Marauders here in the second half. Royals with the basketball. They get it inside. This is Irvin, and his shot is short. As the Marauders bring it into the front court, and laying it up with the right hand is Burnett, but he shoots it over the rim and into the hands of Southeastern. And as they get it down to Irvin, The ball is kicked, and we'll keep it in the hands of Hamilton Southeastern. So far, we see the Royals trying to attack this Marauder zone in the first couple of possessions with Zach Irvin on the inbounds play. Irvin's pushed off a little bit, no call. And here come the Marauders. C.J. Coleman, his shot's no good. The putback by Spears is no good. He'll get another chance. That also misses, and Zach Irvin finally clears the rebound for Southeastern. Royals bring it into the front court, and we'll have a ball knocked out of bounds by, looks like, Dan Werner. And Southeastern will retain the possession. We remain at 27-25, 6:45 left to go in the third quarter. This is Irvin to Risley, and as Risley makes a move, he lost control of the basketball, and Werner has it for the Marauders, and they'll finally get it in the hands of C.J. Coleman. Coleman sent it out top, gets the basketball back, nice shot fake, throws it in the lane, sends it outside into the hands of Turner. As once again, the Marauders move the basketball well. Coleman's three is no good. Underneath with a putback is also no good by Turner. And finally, we'll have the bucket as Turner gets the putback once again. He has 9 points. And Marauder coach Stephen Lynch calls a quick timeout as that bucket by Stephen Turner ties this game at 27 with 6:07 remaining in this third quarter of play. Royals out of the halftime break. You could see they're trying to make a concerted effort to give the ball to Zach Irvin into the paint, whether it's been on their half-court sets, going a little bit of inside-outside and letting Zach be the pivot in the lane. Zach has been short on a couple of his shots. They also tried on the inbounds play to get the ball to Zach in the paint, but the ball was knocked away. So this could be Coach Lynch trying to readjust the defensive strategy as the Marauders are playing solely zone. We've seen a lot of the time when Irvin is in, they will go to a 2-3 zone to help protect underneath and any of the slashing going toward the basket. And when he's out, they will go to more of a 1-3-1. No changes out of the timeouts. And Southeastern will have the basketball as we are tied at 27. And Zach Irvin will be the one that will bring it up for Hamilton Southeastern. And we will have a whistle as Jenkins is going to be fouled, and a blocking foul is going to be called. It will go against C.J. Coleman. That's his second. Irvin will trigger the inbounds and get it to Davidson. Davidson back to Irvin. Skip to the corner to Jenkins. Jenkins drives baseline, lays it up, and lays it in. Good play. Royals move it around as Irvin triggers the inbound to Davidson. They respect Davidson's three, and then they move it around, and Jenkins is able to drive baseline and get the bucket to give the Royals a 2-point lead at 29-27. This is Werner driving in the lane, and he's going to head to the free throw line as they're wanting to know where the foul came from. They'll call Eric Davidson for the personal, and that's Eric's first team foul against Southeastern, and Dan Werner's at the line for the first time tonight. He hits the first of two. Werner had a bucket in that first quarter and since has been scoreless. Second free throw is also good. Werner hits them both, and we are once again tied up, this time at 29. Jenkins leaves it off for Zach. Zach right side to Davidson. Davidson loses a handle on it for a second but gets it back. Left side to Tyler. Tyler finds Risley, back to Davidson. Davidson right side to Furlan. Furlan to Davidson to Jenkins. They find Irvin, and Irvin's bumped. Shot will not count, as they say the foul occurred before the shot. as the foul's going to be called against Zach Spears. That's his second. Team foul number 3, as Spears will head to the bench. And he is replaced by Lucas Rice. Here is Tyler Jenkins, 4th three. Tyler hits his second three-point basket, and the Royals are up by 3 at 32-29. Coleman with the basketball, dribbles right side, right hand high off the glass, no good, and crashing the boards, but going to be called for the foul is Stephen Turner. Turner came in, crashed high off to crash the boards, but he's going to pick up his 3rd personal foul. And the Royals will have the basketball in a 3-point lead. Davidson has the basketball. They've got Irvin on the low blocks underneath, but now the pass is stolen. And laying it up and missing it as C.J. Coleman is there to pick up the garbage, as Anthony Burnett missed a gimme layup, but Coleman followed the play, and now another steal as here comes the Marauders, and laying it high off of the stanchion was Anthony Burnett. And don't know where he was. He looked like he wanted to go high off the glass, went a little too high. Stephen Turner will leave with his 3rd personal foul. Zach Spears will return, as Ross Risley will depart for Brian Satterfield's Royals, and Keegan Culp enters the lineup. Here is Jenkins, and we're going to have an offensive foul, as they're going to call a foul away from the ball, and this one looks like it's going to go against Keegan. It's Keegan's first, team foul number 2. And the Royals, midway through the 3rd quarter, have a 32-31 lead, but the Marauders have the basketball. Nice find, Coleman underneath. He puts it up, puts it in. Good find from Anthony Burnett. 16 points for C.J. Coleman, and the Marauders are back out in front, 33-32. This is Jenkins. Drives. Leaves it off for Culp. Culp too far underneath. Here's a good ball fake, and Jenkins' shot from the right elbow is no good. Cleared by Werner of Mount Vernon. And as Burnett tried to hit Spears running down the right side of the lane, he throws it out of bounds. A 33-32 Mount Vernon lead with 3:21 remaining in this 3rd quarter of play. Royals have the basketball. Irvin in the paint, backs it back out. Here's Jenkins, back to Irvin. Irvin, pull up, turnaround, jumper is good. Zach now in double figures and scoring with 10 points, and almost is able to steal it as they tried to get the ball into the hands of Dan Werner. Anthony Burnett will leave. Christian Smith will enter the lineup for the Marauders. They trail by a point with 3:02 left to go in the 3rd quarter. Smith to trigger the inbounds, and he'll get it to Werner. Werner will hand it back to Smith. It's the Royals, who have stayed man-to-man this entire game, will get it in the hands of Coleman, and Coleman, as the double team comes, is going to be fouled. And I believe it's going to go against Eric Davidson. That's Eric's 3rd team foul against Southeastern. As Eric, with that foul, will head to the bench. He'll be replaced by Tyler Janney. Smith to once again inbounds, and almost took steps, and a 5-second call. Nowhere to throw the ball was Dan Werner, and eventually he was trying to throw it into the backcourt, and he's called with a 5-second call, giving the ball back to Hamilton Southeastern. Royals with a 1-point lead. 2:45 remains in this 3rd quarter. Around the screen is Irvin in the lane. Right hand, no good, but he'll go to the line. Good screen by Tyler Jenkins allowed Irvin to get around, and then Irvin tried to go right hand up to the glass. And was able to do so. Lucas Rice called for the foul, and Zach at the line to shoot 2. Zach is 1 of 2 from the charity stripe in this contest. And he misses the first of 2. Anthony Burnett and Stephen Turner come back in as Dan Werner and Lucas Rice depart for the Mount Vernon Marauders. Zach with one more free throw. Second free throw off the front of the iron and rebound by Turner, who will give it to Coleman. Coleman finding all alone Zach Spears, who was camped out underneath the basket, and that's going to cause Brian Satterfield to call a timeout. And so with that basket, Mount Vernon retakes the lead, 35-34 with 2.5 minutes left to go in this third quarter. You're watching Hamilton Southeastern basketball on Audio Sports Online. Once again, our next broadcast will be tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock as the Lady Royals will be in action. JV game begins at 1 o'clock. And then the top-ranked Lady Royals will take on HCC foe Harrison. The varsity game will begin at 2:30, and then we will head on the road, head to Pendleton Heights tomorrow night as Brian Satterfield Club will be back in action on the road at Pendleton Heights. JV game at 6, varsity game at 7:30. That game will be audio only, and you can hear it all right here on Audio Sports Online. Brian Scott with you from Hamilton Southeastern High School. Royals led by 2 at the break, and they trail by 1 with 2.5 minutes left to go in the third quarter. Coach Satterfield not happy with his team not getting back on defense. That led to an easy basket as Zach Spears had leaked out. C.J. Coleman watched him camp out underneath the basket and just threw a 20-yard fly pattern on the money. And Spears did the rest. Out of the timeout, Paul Furlan, Zach Irvin, Tyler Janney, Keegan Culp, and Tyler Jenkins. Furlan with a basketball to Irvin. Irvin back to Furlan. And this time it gets to Janney as they move it around. Jenkins gets his man in the air. Nice little hesitation there getting Anthony Burnett up into the air. And that's going to earn Tyler a trip to the charity stripe. It's Burnett's first, but it is the 16th foul against the Marauders. So Royals shooting free throws the rest of the night. Jenkins' first of 2 is good. Dan Werner returns for Mount Vernon. Burnett will leave. Jenkins missed his first 2 free throws, but he hits that one. Second free throw is good, and that puts Tyler into double figures with 10 points. Royals back on top, 36-35, 2:08 left to go, third quarter. Mount Vernon into the front court. Royals with some aggressive defense, and it's poked away by Irvin, but Coleman retrieves it for Mount Vernon. And he will take it to the cup, partially blocked by Culp, but the Marauders come away with the basketball. Werner drives in the lane, splits the defenders, puts it up off the glass, and the foul's going to go against the Royals, Keegan Culp. That'll be his second. 14th foul against Hamilton Southeastern, and Dan Werner's heading to the line to shoot a pair. Werner is 2 for 2 from the line, hit both of those early in this quarter. And he is now perfect at 3 for 3. Nick Wethington back in for your Royals. He'll take over for Keegan Culp. Werner at the line with his second free throw. And that one gets the kind roll. He's 4 6 points. And the Marauders back on top by a point, 37-36, as the lead changes once again. This one as Janney tried to get it to Furlan, poked away by Anthony Burnett, but we'll keep it down at the Royals front court. 1:34 left to go, third quarter. Janney with the basketball, right side to Irvin. Irvin around a Wethington screen. Tried to pass it off, but it was telegraphed. And coming away with it is Stephen Turner. This is Werner with the basketball. And we have a whistle away from the ball underneath the basket, and it looks like it's going to go against Nick Wethington. For Nick, that is his second personal foul, and it's the 15th foul against Southeastern. The Marauders will take it out from the baseline as Coleman gets it in. Gives it to Turner as they move it around. Coleman working on Jenkins, drives baseline, throws it up, too hard. Janney has it for Southeastern. Tyler into the front court to Tyler Jenkins. Jenkins tries to feed Wethington, but the pass is too low and goes between the wickets. And the Marauders have the basketball with under a minute left to play third quarter. Coleman leaves it off to Burnett as they move the ball around into the hands of Stephen Turner. Turner back to Coleman, 48 seconds left to go third quarter. Marauders with a 1-point lead, and making a move is Anthony Burnett, and a whistle will stop play as the foul's going to go against Southeastern. It'll go against Wethington, and that'll be his third, 16 foul. So both teams are in the bonus for the remainder of this game as Wethington departs and Davidson returns. They will throw the ball inbound to Werner, back to Coleman. Coleman, three-pointer on the way, is up and good. 18 points for C.J. Coleman, a 4-point lead for Mount Vernon. And Furlan will hold it as the Royals will play for the final shot. Under 20 seconds left is Furlan simply going to wait, and once the clock goes under 10 seconds, now they'll give it to Davidson. They'll work with 12 seconds. To Irvin. Back to Davidson. Davidson spins, moves to Janney for three. It hits, and that's the end of the third quarter. Tyler Janney with a three at the buzzer to get Hamilton Southeastern just a little closer. They trail by a point here as we head to the fourth quarter. It's Mount Vernon 40, Hamilton Southeastern 39. You're watching Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. Welcome back to Hamilton Southeastern High School. Brian Scott with you as we get ready for fourth quarter. And the Royals trail by a point to Mount Vernon, 40-39. C.J. Coleman leads all scorers with 18 points, and he had 7 of them right there in that third quarter. Royals got 7 points from Tyler Jenkins in that third quarter, but it was Tyler Janney's three at the buzzer that gets the Royals within a point. To begin the fourth quarter, it'll be Eric Davidson, Tyler Janney, Paul Furlan, Tyler Jenkins, and Zach Irvin. And for the Marauders, it'll be C.J. Coleman, Anthony Burnett, Stephen Turner, Zach Spears, and Dan Werner. They're starting 5. The Marauders will have the basketball to begin the final quarter. As Burnett goes underneath, and he finds all alone Stephen Turner running baseline. As the Royals defense, once again, a little lax on the baseline. Tyler Jenkins going to be called for the player control foul as he got the ball underneath. He made a little bit too strong of a move, leaned in, and he's called for the foul. Jenkins with his second personal. It is the 17th foul, but we won't be shooting free throws on the player control foul. Royals now in a 2-2-1 press as Burnett's able to get it into the front court to Werner, to Coleman. Coleman touch pass to Burnett, back to Werner. Werner, good body control, is able to lay it up and in. And just like that, the lead's up to 5 for Mount Vernon. They've led by as much as 7. Royals were able to come back. They feed it to Jenkins down low, back out to Janney. Janney pump fake and lose the basketball, but it was tipped by Mount Vernon. Ross Risley returns for the Royals. He'll take over for Tyler Janney. Janney leaves with that big 3, but right now the Royals trail by 5. Jenkins to inbound for Southeastern. Gets it to Furlan. Furlan, right side to Jenkins. Jenkins looks at Risley, but then they move it around the perimeter. Furlan back to Jenkins, finds Irvin, but good anticipation by Anthony Burnett of Mount Vernon, pokes the ball away. But the Royals will have possession. They'll take it out in the corner. 44-39, Mount Vernon has the lead as Zach Irvin will trigger the inbounds pass. Gets it to Risley. Risley to Davidson for 3. A little strong. Loose ball tipped away and finally controlled by Burnett. As he tries to outlet it, Davidson right there to intercept the pass. Furlan to Irvin. Irvin skips over to Jenkins to Davidson. Davidson baseline, little run-hand floater is no good. Coleman has the rebound for Mount Vernon. Good ball movement, just couldn't finish the play as Davidson's floater is no good. We'll remain with a 5-point deficit, and this time Burnett trying to get the ball to Coleman, overthrows him. And the turnover gives the ball back to Southeastern, trailing by 5 with 6:20 left to go in this final period. Royals still looking for their first points here in the fourth quarter. As Furlan looks at Irvin. Here's Jenkins back to Furlan. They swing it around to Davidson. Now Zach with it in the lane, high off the glass. And Irvin has his 12th points of the night to make it a one-possession game with the Marauders leading by 3. Coleman to Burnett. Burnett working on Davidson. Up top to Turner. To Spears, back to Coleman. Coleman works on Paul Furlan. Good job by Paul holding him, cutting off the lane. And driving and in the lane, and we're going to have a player control foul that this time works in favor of the Royals as Stephen Turner is going to pick up his 4th personal foul. And Coach Lynch, not realizing he was his 4th, is a little late in trying to get a sub in. As the Royals have the basketball, we'll see if Hamilton Southeastern looks to work on Stephen Turner, who has 11 points. Won't have to, as Zach Irvin gets the bucket on the jumper. And it's a 1-point Southeastern trails. Werner gives it up to Turner. Turner, left side to Spears, and Spears moved with the basketball before putting it on the court. Now Christian Smith will come in as Stephen Turner will sit down with 11 points and 4 personal fouls. And now Coach Lynch is going to call a timeout. 5:05 remaining in the fourth period. Hamilton Southeastern trails by a point at 44-43. This is Royals basketball on Audio Sports Online. Brian Scott back at Hamilton Southeastern High School, where the Royals, who trailed by as much as 5 just a few moments ago, cut it to 1. And they'll have the basketball out of the timeout, looking to go back ahead. Neither team has been able to clear any space. Mount Vernon has led by as much as 7. The Royals by no more than 5. And the Royals and the Marauders have been exchanging the lead back and forth. So we'll see what happens out of the timeout, as this Marauder zone has somewhat stymied Southeastern this evening. It will be Zach Irvin, Tyler Jenkins, Paul Furlan, Ross Risley, Eric Davidson. That is your starting 5 on the court currently for Brian Satterfield. And they will get the ball into the hands of Paul Furlan. This is Jenkins on the right side. Ferlin finds Davidson, who finds Irvin. Irvin stops and pops the three, and Zach Irvin hits. 7 points for Zach Irvin in the quarter, and the Royals are back up by 2. 4:43 remains in the fourth, and now ball is picked up by Ferlin as it's lost by Burnett. And the Royals have the basketball, looking to extend the lead. Jenkins to Davidson. Davidson left side. Irvin, heat check. A little short. Risley with a rebound, gives it back to Davidson. Zach a little bit far out on that one as he wanted to make sure. And now the Royals will set up the half court. And almost stolen. It was stolen by Coleman. C.J. Coleman drives, and it's rejected by Jenkins. We'll keep it down at the Marauder end of the court as Turner returns and Spears leaves. Stephen Turner has 4 personals. And the Marauders have the basketball, trailing by 2. Driving in the lane is Werner, and a foul is going to be called against Hamilton Southeastern. And that's going to send the Marauders to the charity stripe. It'll go against Ross Risley. That's his 3rd. Team foul number 8. And Werner's at the line with 2 shots, as they will say he was in the act of shooting. Dan Werner has 8 points for Mount Vernon. And the first free throw is good as he slips it over the front lip of the rim. Werner looking to tie it with a free throw here, and he doesn't do so as Risley has the rebound. Hamilton Southeastern stays in front by a point as we are under 4 minutes left to go in the fourth period. Right side to Jenkins. Looking at this 2-3 zone. There's Zach Irvin in the middle, but his right-hander is short. Risley gets the rebound. His shot's no good. The ball stripped away from Irvin, and Mount Vernon has the basketball. Werner working on Risley, and the whistle will stop play, and a foul's going to be called on Ross. That'll be number 4 on Risley. And Werner, who just hit 1 of 2, will be back at the line, but this time it'll be for the 1-and-1, as it's only the 19th foul against Southeastern. But the next one will have the Marauders in the double bonus. Free throw is up. It is no good, and Irvin has the rebound for Southeastern. Left side to Davidson. Davidson to Jenkins to Irvin, who almost loses it to the backcourt, but retrieves it. Paul Ferlin looking at this 2-3 zone as the Royals look to get some spacing. Jenkins to Davidson for 3. That one's off. And here comes Coleman. Coleman will stop from the left elbow. Shot no good. Rebound poked away by Turner. And then it's going to be a foul called against Risley, and that'll be his 5th. For Ross Risley, he is done for the night. He has 2 points, and that is his 5th foul. So now Brian Satterfield getting an explanation before he bothers with replacing Risley. And now they will start the minute timer. And they will use Tyler Janney to replace Ross. So Ross leaves with 2 points and 5 fouls as he has fouled out. Gets a hand from Coach Satterfield. And at the line is Stephen Turner to shoot 2. It is the 10th team foul against Southeastern. First free throw is good, and we are tied at 46. Royals are in the bonus. The Marauders are in the double bonus. Second free throw from Turner is good, and the Marauders retake the lead at 47-46. Christian Smith leaves as Zach Spears re-enters the lineup for Mount Vernon. And the Royals' Paul Ferlin will bring the basketball into the front court. And now we'll see Mount Vernon go to a 1-3-1, and now losing it was Jenkins, but they're going to say it was a kick ball by Zach Spears, and Hamilton Southeastern will maintain possession of the basketball. Seen Mount Vernon either in a 2-3 or a 1-3-1 most of this night. Most of the time Irvin's been in. They've been 2-3, but now Zach's in there in a 1-3-1 as they've lost the big size. Here's Furlan for three. Paul Furlan hits his second three-point basket. He has 8 points, and the Royals are back up by 2 at 49-47. Coleman drives, leaves it high off the glass, right side, no good. Spear shot is no good, and Tyler Jenkins has the loose ball rebound. Jenkins, right side, goes back over to Furlan. Furlan will dribble the ball as we are approaching the 2-minute mark left to go in the fourth quarter on a high arcing pass. As trying to draw Mount Vernon out of this 1-3-1, the Royals will take some air out of the basketball with a 2-point lead. Right side, here's Irvin for three in the corner. It rims out, and Burnett has the rebound for Mount Vernon. Coleman, right side to Werner. Werner gives it to Spears. Spears to Burnett. As they core, here is C.J. Coleman curling in the lane. He gets the bucket. He has 20 points. That's his first points, though, here in the fourth quarter. And we are tied at 49. A minute 25 left to go in this regulation. In a game that has gone back and forth all night long, as now Mount Vernon sags back into a 2-3 zone. Furlan content to dribble the basketball, making Mount Vernon come to him. Jenkins now has it, drives, goes right side to Janney. Tyler Janney back to Jenkins. 1 minute left in the fourth quarter. Furlan with the basketball. To Davidson. As the Royals look to take some air out of it and draw the Marauders out of this zone. Here's Davidson. Right side to Irvin. Tries to pass. It's stolen by C.J. Coleman, and it is rejected by behind as Eric Davidson hits Coleman from behind, and Coleman goes down hard. Davidson was after the ball. As Coleman had the strip, was going for the layup. Coleman goes down hard, and Davidson is going to pick up his third personal. 43 seconds remain in this fourth quarter. Pass was telegraphed, and now the officials are going to talk about it. And they're going to see if this is an intentional foul. Looked like Eric was making a play on the ball. As Coleman went up, he swiped after the ball. Got Coleman. Coleman went down hard. And I believe the discussion now is whether or not they're going to call an intentional foul against Davidson. We're tied at 49. 43 seconds remain in the fourth quarter as the officials talk this one out. And they are still talking it out. They're going to talk to Coach Steve Lynch of Mount Vernon. And I'm going to say that since they are not involving Brian Satterfield, that they are probably discussing that it is simply going to be a two-shot foul. Now the other official will talk to Coach Satterfield as Coach Lynch pleads his case. Of course, an intentional foul would be two shots and the basketball. And Coach Lynch didn't like what he heard, but it's going to be C.J. Coleman going to the line to shoot two. And Coleman actually is going to have to come out because he was hurt. And instead, it will be Christian Smith shooting the free throws. So the discussion was evidently more about Coleman landing on his head. and he had to leave. So Smith is going to take the free throws. He hits the first of two. So some strange things happening here. And Coach Satterfield is going to call a timeout with 43 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter. And Coach Lynch still not happy with the officials, and what I thought was being discussed as an intentional foul, evidently it was discussed that C.J. Coleman had to leave after taking that hard foul. But as it is, Christian Smith has hit the first of two to give the Marauders a 1-point lead. As Brian Satterfield calls a timeout with 43 seconds left. And out of the timeout, Christian Smith will still have one more free throw due to him. The officials are still at the Marauder free throw line discussing it. But evidently I was mistaken. I was thinking they might have been calling an intentional foul against Davidson. And in the end, they decided to take Coleman off the line. And he was replaced by Christian Smith to shoot the free throws. Coleman did come down hard, and he was grasping the back of his head. He looks fine right now, and he is at the end of the bench right next to Lynch, Coach Lynch. Meanwhile, Christian Smith will have one more free throw. That first made free throw was his first point of the night. And he is looking to make it a 2-point lead. He missed the second. Jenkins has the basketball. The Royals trail by a point. Tyler gives it to Ferlin. Ferlin loses it. And now we are going to have a timeout called by Steve Lynch. Or no, we have a foul called against Hamilton Southeastern. It'll go against Zach Irvin. That's his third. And it will send Stephen Turner to the line to shoot two as the Marauders are in the double bonus. The best they could do is make it a 3-point game as Turner hits the first of two. Now C.J. Coleman is back into the game. After having to leave, he'll replace Christian Smith. And Turner with one more free throw. That rims out. Irvin has the basketball, gives it to Ferlin. The Royals trail by a bucket with 27 seconds remaining. Irvin gets the double team, gives it to Davidson. Davidson to Tyler Janney, back to Eric. Under 20 left. This is Jenkins. Jenkins left side as they move the ball around, and timeout's going to be called by Royals head coach Brian Satterfield with 13.4 seconds remaining, and the Royals trailing 51-49. The Marauders, they have hit their free throws in the second half. As they have hit 9 of 13. Mount Vernon led by a point after the end of the third quarter. Southeastern got 7 points from Zach Irvin to retake the lead, but these past minute and a half has been rather wild here as Coleman stole the pass. He was fouled on the layup by Eric Davidson, and he hit the deck hard. So much so he had to leave the game, and they brought in Christian Smith for the free throw. Smith hit 1 of 2. Out of the timeout, Tyler Janney, Tyler Jenkins, Eric Davidson, Paul Ferlin, Zach Irvin. That's your 5 Royals. Royals could tie it with a 2. They could win it with a 3. 13.4 seconds, and we're going to extend this drama just a little bit more as now Marauders coach Steve Lynch will use a 30-second timeout. as he sees how the Royals were going to set up in the half court. The Royal students to our right, of course, as they do every game, stand the entire game. Mount Vernon, they have brought their own contingent to our left, and at times they've been rather vocal. For Mount Vernon, they will have C.J. Coleman, Anthony Burnett, Dan Werner, Zach Spears, and Stephen Turner. So starting five for Mount Vernon. Risley has fouled out, so Tyler Janney is on the court in his stead. Otherwise, it's Royal starters, and they'll get the ball into the hands of Irvin. 10 seconds remaining. Zach, pull up three on the way, high off the rim, no good. And on the rebound, we'll have a foul as Dan Werner skied for it. He's going to be fouled by Eric Davidson, as the Marauders have a chance to put this one away with 4.2 seconds. Davidson's foul is his fourth. Irvin had a look. It went high off of the back flange, high into the air. Everybody skied for the rebound. And in the end, Dan Werner comes away with it for Mount Vernon. So Werner will be at the line with 2 free throws. If he makes them both, it's a 2-possession game. If he misses one, Royals still have a chance. Werner's first free throw is good. Keegan Culp comes in. He will replace Tyler Janney. Keegan also a very good three-point shooter. One more free throw from Werner, and he misses. Irvin with 4 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, puts it up, hits front iron, and falls away. And Mount Vernon is upset Hamilton Southeastern by the score of 52-49. We'll be back with some final stats in just a moment. You're watching Southeastern basketball on Audio Sports Online. Brian Scott back at Hamilton Southeastern, where the Royals taste defeat for the first time this season as they fall to Mount Vernon by the score of 52-49. It was a game in which Hamilton Southeastern seemed at time to have some problems with this zone employed by Mount Vernon all game long. They switched it up and down between 2-3 and 1-3-1, forcing Hamilton Southeastern to take shots from the perimeter. And also the Royals just really had a lot of problems with Mount Vernon guard C.J. Coleman. Coleman leads all scorers with 20 points. For the Marauders, Coleman with 20. Stephen Turner had 14 points, 10 points for Dan Werner, including a clutch free throw at the end. Anthony Burnett had 3 points. Christian Smith with 1 point. Alec Lohman and Lucas Rice played. They did not score. Also 4 points for Zach Spears. For Hamilton Southeastern, they were led by Zach Irvin, 17 points. 10 points for Tyler Jenkins, 8 points for Paul Furlan, 5 points for Eric Davidson, 4 points for Justin Barksdale, 3 points for Tyler Janney, 2 points for Ross Risley, Wade Traeger, Chris Ford, Keegan Culp and Nick Wethington all played. They did not score. The Marauders led 14-7 after the end of the first quarter. It was Hamilton Southeastern leading 27-25 at halftime. Mount Vernon retook the lead at the end of the third quarter, 40-39, and they win this game today by the score of 52-49. For the Marauders, they improved to 2-0 on the season. For Hamilton Southeastern, it's their first loss of the season as they move to 3-1 on the year. Our next broadcast here on Audio Sports Online will be tomorrow as the Lady Royals, the top-ranked Lady Royals in Class 4A in the state of Indiana, they will take the court in a Saturday afternoon matinee as they take on the Harrison Raiders. JV game begins at 1 o'clock. Varsity game begins at 2:30, and then Brian Satterfield's team will look to put the bad taste of this game out of their mouths as they travel to Pendleton Heights tomorrow night. And the JV game will begin at 6 o'clock, varsity game at 7:30. That will be an audio-only game here on Audio Sports Online, and unfortunately I will not be around for either of those games. So best wishes to the Royals, both the Lady Royals of Chris Huppenthal and Brian Satterfield's Royals team tomorrow on ASO. Once again, our final score, Hamilton Southeastern, they taste defeat for the first time. They fall to the Mount Vernon Marauders by the score of 52-49. This is Brian Scott saying thanks for joining me tonight. Look forward to talking to you next time here on Hamilton Southeastern Royals basketball. Until then, so long, everybody.